The morning sun rose bright and golden over the jungle, glittering through the leaves like a shower of sparkles. Birds were already singing cheerful tunes. Monkeys were leaping from branch to branch, and somewhere near the sparkling river, a large white-furred creature was humming happily to himself. That was Yeti, big, fluffy, and always full of silly ideas. Beside him sat his best friend, Bear, round, brown, and constantly munching on something delicious. Today, Yeti had spread a wrinkled old map on a rock, its edges torn and scribbled with strange doodles. "Behold, Bear, the jungle treasure map," Yeti announced dramatically, puffing out his chest. Bear squinted at it while chewing on a honey biscuit. "That's not a treasure map," he said slowly, crumbs tumbling from his mouth. "That's your old napkin with ketchup stains." Yeti blinked. "Ah, but that's what the treasure hunters want us to think," he whispered mysteriously, waving his furry hand. "Every great adventure begins with something ordinary." Bear sighed, but deep down, he was already smiling. He knew Yeti's crazy plans always turned into the best stories. "All right," Bear said, brushing crumbs off his fur. "So where do we start, O wise explorer?" Yeti grinned wide enough to show all his shiny teeth. "The first clue says, I wrote the first clue myself last night. It say, seek the waterfall that laughs and dances in the sun." Bear tilted his head. "You mean the noisy waterfall near the banana grove?" Yeti gasped. "Exactly. You're getting good at this." He rolled up the map, grabbed his explorer stick, which was actually a broom, and began marching dramatically toward the forest. Bear followed with a slow, amused grin, carrying a basket filled with snacks. "Every treasure hunt needs fuel," he muttered. As they entered the jungle, everything shimmered with playful life. Butterflies twirled around Yeti's head, and parrots chattered above them like gossiping neighbors. Yeti tried to look serious, but he tripped over a vine and fell face first into a patch of flowers. Bear laughed so hard he nearly dropped his basket. "You found the treasure already? A bed of daisies," he joked. Yeti sat up, flowers sticking to his fur, and giggled. "Every great explorer must blend in with nature," he said proudly, posing like a hero. As they continued deeper, the path grew muddy and twisty. A family of frogs watched them curiously, croaking in rhythm, while a curious squirrel followed from branch to branch. Yeti whispered, "They must be guardians of the treasure." And Bear chuckled. "Or maybe they just think you're a walking snowball." When they finally reached the waterfall, it sparkled like silver ribbons in the sunlight. The sound was loud and joyful, like laughter echoing through the rocks. The laughing waterfall. Yeti cried triumphantly. Step 1 complete. He leapt forward dramatically, slipping on wet moss and landing with a splash. Bear shook his head, amused. "You sure make a lot of sound effects for a silent treasure map," he teased. As Yeti wrung out his fur, he spotted something shiny under a rock near the water. His eyes widened. "Bear, look, the treasure." He rushed over, tugging it free, and out popped an old tin can. The label read Jungle Jam, best before 2002. Bear burst out laughing so loudly that parrots flew away. "Congratulations, explorer," he said, clapping Yeti's shoulder. "You found expired jam." Yeti held it proudly. "Every great adventure has a twist, my friend. Maybe the jam is the first clue." Bear rolled his eyes, but Yeti was already turning the can over and examining the bottom. There, faintly scratched into the metal, were a few letters, Trehouse. Yeti gasped. "The Treehouse of Wonders. That must be the next clue." Bear raised a brow. "You mean the big old treehouse where the monkeys throw bananas at us?" Yeti nodded eagerly. "Exactly. We must go there before sunset." He grabbed the broomstick again and began his silly march toward the path, humming his treasure hunter-themed song, which sounded suspiciously like a mix of bird calls and sneezes. Bear followed, chuckling and shaking his head. I don't know what's sillier, the treasure hunt or the hunter. The jungle echoed with their laughter, and even the frogs and birds seemed to join in. Little did they know, as they disappeared into the thick vines and bright flowers, a small pair of glowing eyes watched them from the bushes. A mischievous monkey with a red scarf grinned and whispered to his friends, "Looks like the silly hunters are at it again. Let's make this fun." The monkeys giggled and swung away through the trees, planning to turn Yeti and Bear's treasure hunt into a jungle-wide game of surprises. Yeti and Bear trudged happily through the thick jungle, leaves brushing against their fur as they followed the winding trail toward the monkey treehouse. The air was warm and smelled of ripe fruit and honey, and every now and then, Yeti stopped to point dramatically at random plants, claiming each one was definitely a clue. Bear, munching lazily on a mango, just smiled. "You said that about the rock, the vine, and that confused turtle," he teased. Yeti gasped. But that turtle looks suspicious, didn't it? Maybe he knows where the treasure is." The turtle blinked slowly from the path, unimpressed. Bear chuckled. "Pretty sure he just wants to cross the road." As they continued, the chatter of monkeys grew louder, echoing from above. Soon they saw it, the legendary treehouse of wonders. It was built from twisted vines, banana leaves, and shiny trinkets stolen from explorers long ago. The monkeys who lived there were famous for mischief, and today they were extra ready for fun. "Welcome, brave explorers," shouted a cheeky monkey wearing a red scarf, the same one who had spied on them earlier. He swung down dramatically, landing right in front of Yeti and Bear. "You've entered the sacred jungle of riddles. To claim the treasure, you must pass our challenges." Yeti's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Aha! Just as I expected," he said, puffing out his chest. Bear leaned closer and whispered, "You didn't expect that at all, did you?" Yeti grinned. "Of course I did. It's all part of the adventure." The monkeys giggled and clapped their little hands. "First challenge," the leader announced. "You must catch the golden banana." He pointed upward, where a single shiny banana dangled from a vine high above the treehouse, swaying gently in the breeze. Yeti looked up and gasped. "A golden banana! Bear, we found the treasure already." But before he could jump, the monkeys burst into laughter. "Oh no, silly Snowball. That's only the beginning." With a loud whoop, the monkeys scattered into the trees. Yeti took a deep breath, stretching his furry arms. "All right, my friend," he said confidently. "I'll leap at the grace of a snow leopard." Bear raised an eyebrow. "More like the grace of a falling coconut," he said. Yeti crouched, wiggled his toes, and sprang upward. For a glorious moment, he actually soared, until a vine snapped and he tumbled back down with a loud oof, landing in a pile of leaves. The monkeys burst into hysterics. Even Bear couldn't help laughing, tears rolling down his cheeks. "You almost had it." Bear wheezed between laughs. Yeti stood, spitting out leaves, and pointed proudly upward. "Ha! I loosened the vines. You go next, Bear." Bear sighed but agreed, lumbering toward the tree trunk. He wasn't as fast as Yeti, but he was careful. Step by step, he climbed the vines, pausing only when the monkey started throwing twigs at his tail. "Hey! No fair," he grumbled, swatting at them. Finally, he reached the golden banana and grabbed it triumphantly. "Got it!" he shouted. But just then, the vine he was standing on snapped, and he swung wildly before landing safely in Yeti's arms. Both fell backward, laughing. The monkeys cheered and clapped, impressed. "Very well," said the red scarf monkey. "You passed the first challenge." Yeti and Bear did a little victory dance. Yeti spinning, Bear doing a slow belly shake. The monkeys then handed them a rolled-up leaf scroll. "Next clue," the leader said with a grin. Yeti unrolled it eagerly and read aloud. "Follow the trail of shiny shells to the river where the fish tell jokes." Bear blinked. "Fish that tell jokes?" Yeti nodded solemnly. "Yes, they're famous. I read about them in a very reliable source, my imagination." Off they went again, with monkeys following overhead, giggling and dropping random fruit along the way. The trail of shiny shells led them through tall grass and into a glittering clearing. The ground sparkled with tiny seashells scattered like confetti. This must be it. Yeti cried. They followed the shells until they reached the river, wide, bright, and full of noisy, splashing fish. Yeti knelt by the water dramatically. "Oh, wise and funny fish, we seek your guidance to the treasure." The fish blinked at him. Then one suddenly leapt up, splashing water on his face. "Blub," it said. Bear chuckled. "I think that one just told you a wet joke." Yeti laughed, dripping and delighted. Aha, that's the sign. The fish approve of our quest. Then Bear noticed something shiny under the water. He pointed. Look there. They reached in and pulled out a glass bottle sealed with a cork. Inside was a small scroll and a shiny marble. Yeti opened the scroll and read, "The final treasure lies where the jungle meets the moonlight." He gasped. That's the old clearing near the fireflies field. The monkeys clapped again, clearly enjoying the show. The red scarf monkey winked. You're almost there, explorers. But beware, the jungle likes to play tricks. Yeti grinned. So do we. With the bottle in hand and excitement bubbling like a volcano, Yeti and Bear began their march toward the firefly field. The jungle seemed to cheer them on. Frogs croaked in rhythm. Birds sang, and the wind whispered through the leaves. Bear looked at his friend and smiled. You know, Yeti, he said softly, maybe the treasure isn't gold or gems. Maybe it's just this, us having fun. Yeti looked thoughtful for a moment, then grinned. Nope, I still want shiny things. Bear laughed so hard, he nearly dropped the bottle. As the sun dipped lower and the sky turned orange, the two friends disappeared deeper into the jungle, glowing with excitement and covered in mud, leaves, and laughter. Behind them, the monkeys followed, whispering their final prank plans. The real treasure was still waiting, and so was one last, very silly surprise.